Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. So I've finally received my Tati Beauty palette in the mail. Only took 3 weeks. I ordered it on the day of the release and it did come yesterday in the mail, so it took quite a while. I didn't pay for expedited shipping or anything like that, but you know, 3 weeks is just really out of this world. So here's the palette here. Now, I have used it on my eyes today to create this look. So it's a fairly neutral palette. There's not too many of warm colours in there that I can say. That orange on the bottom, which is Story, and a matte, is actually probably the warmest colour in the palette. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the finishes and the colours because you've probably seen Tati's launch video that she did. So she goes through all the different finishes and the colours in the palette. So just really quickly, the names of the colours are on the bottom here and the finishes are all on the side here. So it goes from matte to sequin, which is a matte with just a pinpoint glitter in it, and then you've got metallic, which today I found for the first time I've used this palette today, which it's a shimmer. It's not really metallic, and then the glitters on the top are absolutely stunning. I love them. The packaging is sleek and simple. It's just a black case, but it is quite heavy, but it is easy to store away, which is great. The mirror is wonderful, really big. It's got all my fingerprints all over the top there. Now, what I found today is you don't need much product at all, and a couple of the colors, the dark brown in particular, was just a little bit harder to blend, so you've got to work just a little bit harder, but browns and dark colors are notorious for that. Now, just before I get into the tutorial, I do need to mention that the glitters are not meant to be placed on the eye. So it's a legal terminology, a disclaimer that we really do need to make. You can go ahead and do it, just be very, very, very careful putting it on, and in particular getting it off as well, that you're not wiping that glitter into your eye, because don't forget, it is plastic and it can cut you. Alright, so I'll go on and get into the video and I'll show you the look that I did with the Tati Beauty palette. Alright, so I've just primed my eyes with my P.Louise base, nothing new there. And I'm just patting that off just to take off any excess product with my NARS 42 large fluffy brush. And then I'm just going to go into the palette. I'm going to go into Soothe Matte, which is a really light brown colour there. And I'm just going to pop that with that same brush, the NARS 42, into my transition area. Now, right off the bat, this is very pigmented colour. I'm assuming the whole palette's going to be exactly the same. Now, I haven't watched any tutorials as such with this palette, but I have watched Tati with her launch video, basically going through all the colours, all the finishes, and they just, it just looks beautiful. Just looks right up my alley. For somebody who doesn't really like a lot of colour, who does like their neutrals, there is a splash of colour in there with that poet colour, that pinky colour on the end, and there is that bright orange. So I'm just wiping off any excess product on that brush and just going around the edges of that colour, just so it'll blend in with my foundation. I have gone quite wide, so I do want to use as much of my lid space as I can. So first up, I'm going to go into Ritual Matte, which is that bright orange colour on the bottom there, and Morphe 506. I'm in love with this brush. And just on the very tip, I'm going to go into the inner corner first up and do half of my crease. Now, I do have to go up high. If any of you have watched any of my videos previously, you'll know that I've got extremely hooded eyes and I do need to go up quite high with my colours. So I'm going right into the inner corner there. More of a packing motion, I guess, just to put this colour in first. Alright, so I've put that about 2/3 of the way along my crease line there. So I've just packed that colour in basically so far. I haven't blended anything. So I'm just going to wipe off that brush on a towel on my desk, and I'm going to go into Ritual, which is the dark chocolate brown there. And then I'm just going to finish off the rest of my crease. So I'm going to start in the outer corner here, quite far out. And I just want to join up to that orange colour. I've got to go in and make sure this is rounded off so that when I relax my eyes the colour doesn't flatten out too much. So you may have to make some adjustments if you've got eyes like mine. See how that's going up a little bit higher? So I will have to go back in and meet that orange colour up with the black or the dark brown. Alright, so I'm just going in and just packing that Ritual matte colour in the outer V. Okay, so time for some blending. I'm going to go back into that 506. I'm going to take off that colour on a towel. I'm just going to go back into that Soothe colour, which was the first colour we put in the transition, and I'm just going to go right along the edge of the dark, just in little circular motions, just to blend the edge there. I'm just going to go back in with that Ritual matte colour, and just back from that blend I'm just going to add a little bit more intensity back in. So same thing here, I'm going back in with the Soothe colour on the 506 and I'm going around the edge of that Story matte just to blend that. The same thing, I'm just going back into Story, a bit too much on my brush there. I'm just adding some intensity back, just back from that blend. Now I'm just going right through the middle here where those two colours meet. And then I'm grabbing my NARS 42 and I'm just going to go over the entire section in windshield wiper motions backwards and forwards, just with a very light hand. Alrighty, so I'm going to go into Ritual Metallic, which is a really beautiful bronze colour there. And I am going to use my Makeup Forever 240. Just on one side, I'm just going to place this on the outer V, or outer half of my eye here. And then I'm just going to flip the brush and I'm going to go into Story Metallic. And I'm going to pop that on the inner half of my eye. Wow, that's beautiful. Back on the 506 and I'm just going to blend that dark colour over that bronzy shimmer, or metallic. It's really shimmer. I wouldn't say that's metallic. I'm just blending those together. I might go back in with Story Matte on an E21, which is tiny brush, and pop a little bit more of that colour back in there. I feel like I need a little bit more of a orange colour back in. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glitter glue on that Makeup Forever 240 brush. And then I'm just going to go over that shimmer section and trying to stay in that same shape. I'm going to go straight into Rituals Glitter. She looks a little bit gold in the pan, and then I'm going to go straight in after that with Story, which is really quite copper. So two different sides of my brush. So I'm going on the Ritual first, that is quite bronzy. And flip my brush and go into Story Glitter. Whoa, I love that. Now I've used the glitter glue because I just want it to last. The other thing with using glitter glue too, if you've got hooded eyes, you really don't want that glitter to end up way up here in your new crease. So it just helps to keep it in the place that you put it so that it's just not transferring. It might stay on your lid without glitter glue, but with really hooded eyes you just don't want it to transfer all over the place. That glitter in Story is right up my alley. That is beautiful. Okay, so I want to make this a little bit more sharp, so I'm just getting a tissue and I'm just going to go right along the edge here, way out wide, and just sharpen that up. Alright, so I put the rest of my makeup on. I'm just going to go back in with this NARS 42 and just blend. I know I wanted a sharp line along there, but I think I might just blend that. It just looks a little bit better, I think. Now I've gone ahead and put my Huda Beauty in the tight line area, but as you can see it has actually transferred to the inner corner there on my bottom waterline. So you've really got to plan if you're going to use this to use it in the waterline as well, which I'm going to do now. And then with the E21 from Sigma, I'm going into Ritual, which was the darker brown, matte. I'm just going to set along that. I'm just going to place a little bit on the outer edge as well. I'm just going to use it as a weaver smudger brush and go back into Story and just blend along that. And then my 221 with a little bit of that Soothe colour on, just to blend the entire bottom lash line. So I'm going to go back into one of those metallics now, which is the Story, so the apricot colour. I'm just going to pop that in the inner corner. I do love the glitters. Absolutely love that Story glitter, which was that apricot that I put in the inner corner here. Now, I just want to mention that using good brushes, or the right shaped brushes, can let you achieve almost like a cut crease style. So this Makeup Forever 240, I absolutely love it. It's just a great shape for getting in there and actually placing the shimmer or placing glitter on your eye. And as you can see, it's almost like a cut crease shape, a style of eyeshadow. So I do love that brush, and I love the Morphe 506. I've only got a couple of Morphe brushes, but this is one of the ones that I do really, really like. Alright, so if you liked my video, don't forget to give me a like, a big thumbs up, and subscribe and share with your friends. Don't forget to click on the notifications bell so you're notified when I upload some more content, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!